What is a eucalypt? A eucalypt is actually a common name for a group of plants, and it consists of, at the moment, 3 different genera of plants. They are eucalyptus, with, what have I said there, 880 species. That number changes every day depending on the taxonomic classifications and the like, but around, let's say around 900 odd species. Eucalyptus, a large genus of plants, almost endemic to Australia. There's a few species that extend to some of the islands to the north. No species native to New Zealand, no species native anywhere else around the world, although they are planted worldwide. And then there's 2 smaller genera as well. One is Corymbia. They're the bloodwoods and the ghost gums. They include things like spotted gum, lemon-scented gum, your Western Australian red flowering gum, some really commonly cultivated trees with about 100 odd species. And then a small genus called Angophora with about 12 species. The most well-known species there is Angophora costata, species mainly from the Sydney sandstone area, but it's widely planted throughout southern and eastern Australia. Eucalypts are my personal passion. I've always been interested in them. I was interested in plants since I was about 8 years old. They're an Australian icon, but there's so much diversity in the group. And so it's really difficult to generalise whenever you're talking about eucalypts, because there are so many species, but because there's so much diversity from species to species. So they vary from great big dirty great big trees like this river red gum here growing up in the Flinders Ranges, to little small shrubs. That species on the left there, Eucalyptus vernicosa, actually comes from a high rainfall area up right near the snow line on the mountains in Tasmania, so quite an interesting species. I find them interesting for 3 reasons. Because of their beauty, and I mean that's illustrated by this ghost gum from Central Australia. So many really wonderful, beautiful species. But perhaps the main reason I personally am very passionate about eucalypts is the diversity in the group. There's an illustration of 2 different, these are mallee species, so the shrubby types, just showing the variation you can particularly see there in the flowers and also in the leaf form. Both of these species I think should be grown a lot more in cultivation in urban areas, not as street trees, but in shrubberies, in people's gardens, because you still get, they're eucalypts that attract all the biodiversity that tree species of eucalypts attract, so you get all the biodiversity benefits, but they're not trees at all, they're actually shrubs. So eucalypts was an easy choice for me, even though I was only about 10 years old when I decided I really want to grow eucalypts. And now we have them all growing at Currency Creek Arboretum. That's about an hour's drive south of here, near the coastal town of Galway. And Currency Creek Arboretum specialises in the eucalypts. And generally throughout the Arboretum, we plant 4 trees in a row like that, which originate from a single mother tree in the wild. Within the Arboretum, we also are able to plant larger numbers of replicates. So here we've got whole rows or multiple rows, which are all what are called sibling trees to one another. They all come from seed from the single mother tree. This species here, I reckon, has a lot of potential. Eucalyptus dawsonii, the slaty box. So one of the big things that sort of happens all the time at the Arboretum is we're assessing the amenity potential of species in gardens, as urban street trees, as urban trees in parks as well. And not all eucalypts are trees. About a third of all the species are actually of this multi-stemmed mallee type. And then there's about another 130 odd species on top of that are small trees that grow no taller than 8 metres tall. So all up, there's almost 1,000 odd eucalypt species within those 3 genera. And over half of them are either shrubs or trees that grow less than 8 metres tall. So there's a lot of potential there for planting more of these species in the urban environment. And, you know, obviously, some of them are really ornamental. And the good thing about planting eucalypts in the urban environment, instead of crepe myrtles or any sort of ornamental pear, is it also brings the Australian native biodiversity with them. So you get the native birds, people love them, but you also get all the native insects, the native fungi, the native bacteria, all these other things which people don't look at so much, but it's all life, they're all species. And so you're not just planting a single tree, you're actually planting an ecosystem with a lot of different species there.